In 2018, St. Louis native James Gunn was removed from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and fired by Disney. DC immediately called him and told him he could make a movie with any of their properties, even Superman. This week, we discuss what he chose, The Suicide Squad. You're listening to the 17th episode of We Used to Talk About This at Work. All right. So I am flying solo this week. Matt was a little under the weather, but he does not have COVID, so don't worry. He should be back next week. I am joined by Lemitchel, someone that used to work with Matt and myself. Welcome, Lemitchel.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be a part of this. Matt, when you're listening, sorry that you're not here. I was looking forward to talking to both you and Chad, but I'm still excited to be a part because I really like I like what you guys are doing. I
Appreciate
think
it.
Great. One for you two specifically in your friendship, but just in general, I think this is great what you're doing. So happy to be a part of it.
Genuinely appreciate it. I remember first meeting you, Lemitchel. There were two people in your department at our old job, and I was friends with the woman in that department. I'm going to avoid saying her name because we don't do that unless somebody has been on the show before, Game of Thrones rules. So if she ever wants me to actually say her name, she's going to have to be on the show. So why don't you reach out and say hello? So I remember she was like, oh, hey, I have a new coworker, Lemitchel. And I remember like that office that they had you in. It was a large office, but they had the two of you like in the corner in the back.
Very back. The two end cubicles in the very back.
It was sad. I'm just gonna put that out there. It was sad.
It probably looked sad to people on the other side of those cubicles, but it was actually for somebody like me personally, like she had the very last one, which I felt jealous of. And I was between her and another lady whom I absolutely adore. She became my work BFF while I was there. But I was between them two. So, and while, we had our cubicles were, partially glass. So I still just kind of felt like I was on display, but but I actually just liked being in the corner. So to me, I wasn't offended that they put us in the corner. I don't know if there's a story behind it or anything, but
I mean, not to get all the way into it, but I feel like it was because you guys were, to put this in a certain way, you guys were not beholden to the management in that building.
Right.
And so you guys were, an afterthought. I feel like they're like, well, if we can't control them, just put them anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean that could have been the case. I mean, you all were working there clearly way before I was, and I mean, I heard something kind of like not so much to that effect, but kind of along those lines in terms of they just needed a place to put us, is what I was told. And yeah, I mean, I felt like there were better places they could have put us.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think too, it just dealt more with the fact that, we didn't fall under, management in the building. So, our management was elsewhere outside the building. So, but we utilized people in the building a lot for our job, like we had to, because, our job was, to talk to and about people. Yeah. In order to do that, we have to engage with people. But it was kind of difficult for me, especially because I kind of do like talking to people. Well, I like to tell people I don't like people. And I don't like to be bothered. But I think I like people on my terms, I guess. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But I do like to go around and talk to people and get to know people. And especially for what I was doing, I kind of needed that. And I found there, it was really difficult for me to meet people and get to know people. So a lot of people in the building and in the city I found just really weren't very open and welcoming to somebody new. And I'm used to that. I'm used to going places and it, it's not easy to get to know people when you come
Right.
into a place. But I felt like at the time, just that building um, was harder for me up to that point because people really didn't want to talk to me. And it didn't help that my job involved talking
Talking.
to and
Yeah.
about people. And so when I came with questions, people were very apprehensive and standoffish.
Yeah.
And so I had to do kind of a lot to put people at ease, get them to just kind of talk to me. But because our mutual coworker slash friend, she took me around to introduce me to people, to let them know, especially the ones who needed to know that I was in the building. And so I think she had told me about you before I met you because I believe you were you were gone, you were on vacation. She told me about you because, so I guess you had done something, you taken a picture,
Yeah.
something.
So we went to actual King's Cross.
Okay. And so so I heard about you first from her because of that. Like she was really excited she was like, oh my God, look what he's doing. It's great. I was like, oh, that is kind of nice. Cause I think the picture I saw was you,
Yeah,
pretending.
pushing the cart through the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you got back, she made sure that I met you.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, man, you are a bit of a nomad. You left that job before wait like a little ways, a little sometime before Mad myself. And we're Facebook friends. So I've seen that over since you left that job, you have moved to like 4 different cities.
No, only two. I left there and went to San Antonio. And actually went to go back to a employer that I was at before
Okay.
I came there. So I got picked back up with that employer. I was there in San Antonio for 3 years, a little more than 3 years, just a little more than 3 years.
Okay.
And I actually got offered a promotion position in my home city. And
Okay.
I really didn't plan to come back, but it was a promotion and it kind of made sense to take it.
Okay.
And so I've been back now here. Tomorrow, Sunday, will begin my 7th week
Oh wow. Okay.
being back here. This is probably my hardest move so far, but that's because there are more factors in place. Because I have moved a lot, mostly because of my job, but or because of my career. And I look for opportunities. So anytime something looks like an opportunity for
Yeah,
me
I
to
get that.
do something different in my career or, move up or move around, then I, take it. But in the past, it's just been me having an apartment and just being able to pick up and go. Whereas now, I have other responsibilities
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
made this move a little more difficult. And the adjustment period is longer and it's too much stuff going on in terms of just like my life. I had to, just last week, I had to make the decision to say goodbye to my dog, who has been with me for almost 16 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lemitchel.
Um, Thank you, I appreciate it. It was
Yeah, it was rough.
it needed to happen, I guess, but it was just and I'm okay with her dying because I know that happens.
Yeah.
What I'm having a hard time just right now adjusting is, you know, having to have made that decision.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so that's something that I never imagined I would have to do, and then having to have to do it, it's a weird thing to me. Like it's not something that I'm not raised on a farm around animals and see this kind of stuff, and I know life, is a cycle. Like I get all of that, but just having to make a decision is something that I'm kind of been dealing with emotionally. So, but I'm getting there with that. But so for the most part, man, just this move this time, I'm happy to be home. my city has changed a lot since I've been gone. And so it's been really exciting to get out and get to know it again and reintroduce myself to the city and vice versa. So I kind of been running these streets a lot.
So what's different now than when you were there?
Well, so growing up here, we used to always say there's like nothing going on. This place is boring. And we just used to hit the road and go to Dallas, like, especially when I got old enough to drive. Like, that's where we would hang out at. Like, and there was really nothing to do, especially if you were like a young, like the young single crowd or the young crowd that, that coming of age crowd.
Yeah.
At the time when I was coming of age, like it was no social life, like no nothing going on. So whereas now
The
they've
hipsters have taken over.
well, kind of, but it's in some places, yes, but it's not even just the hipsters. Like the city has actually invested in actually adding attractions and things to the city.
Okay.
And then there are people, residents, who are actually taking an interest in actually providing long-term activities and things that are happening, and the city is attracting more visitors. And it's just the energy is different.
Okay.
To me,
Yeah.
there's some people here who kind of still think, oh, there's nothing to do. But in my opinion, those are people who are still used to doing the same things. Whereas me, I honestly like everything.
You're more open-minded.
Yeah, and I'm genuinely fascinated and intrigued by a lot of different stuff. I mean, up to and including, I guess what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, just because, I'm not a comic book nerd. I didn't grow up with comic books. So I can't talk to you about comic books, but I grew up in the era of superhero cartoons.
Okay.
And I'm a superhero cartoon fanatic. Like, I mean, I was from Saturday morning cartoons to, before we go to school, getting dressed, the cartoons were playing, and,
Mm-hmm.
almost missing the bus because I'm trying to watch He-Man or, Hero or G.I. Joe. Like, I mean, I was watching all of them. And then coming home and watching, Super Friends or whatever, the superhero and the action packed cartoons, and even the Scooby-Doo, I was into all of that. So while I'm not a comic book,
You have some familiarity.
I'm a superhero cartoon person, and so I can kind of get to the two. So I just like I just like a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, since you kind of mentioned it, He-Man, have you seen that the new He-Man on Netflix?
No, and I just saw last week that there is a He-Man on Netflix, and
Okay.
I was kind of on the fence on if I want to watch it.
So have you seen anything that the internet's been saying?
Mm-mm.
Because the internet's gotta be mad about something.
Yes, I'm sure they are. Honestly, I haven't seen any chatter, um, but now that you say that, I either will probably go and search for the chatter, or I probably won't. I probably just watch it and make my own
I would say avoid the internet chatter. Part of the problem with a lot of these things the internet gets mad at is how something is advertised.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it's advertised one way than it actually is in reality.
Okay.
So very light spoilers. This show is not called He-Man. This is called Masters of the Universe, then like Revelations or something. So don't expect to see He-Man in every episode or Adam. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked it. It's 5 20-minute episodes. It ends on a crazy cliffhanger where you gotta wait till whenever they release the next 5 episodes. But it's not a bad hour of your time that you would spend.
Okay. Well, just for that, I will purposefully watch, because it's on my watch list,
Yeah,
but I
I
just
mean,
will
but that's
actually watch it.
Netflix watch list. How much crap is on there?
On mine, not a lot.
Okay.
But to be fair, too, one of the reasons that I was apprehensive about watching this, because I'm really nostalgic, and so when something new happened, like something new and up to date, and today, a take on something that happened before that I really like, it takes me a minute to decide I want to be involved.
Oh, okay. So this series is actually a sequel to the '80s show. Well, a
Really?
continuation.
Okay. Yes.
So like everything you know about what has happened, like where the characters stand, that carries over. The only thing different is like the art is like 1,000 times better.
Okay. Well, that'll be nice to go ahead and watch. So yeah, I mean that's just kind of how I feel about you know, the topic in comics and stuff. Like I hate that that I didn't grow up with comics, but I absolutely still love that I grew up with superhero
Yeah.
cartoons.
And it's not like you can't go back and read those comic books.
Yeah, well, it kind of is. I'm not gonna go back and read it, but now I will. To be fair, I have some. I bought some comic books 'cause I wanted to get into comic books. That didn't work,
I
and
mean,
there's somewhere
you
back.
can't just jump in. You gotta
Yeah,
kind of
and
know where to start, you know.
and that's my point. So it kind of is like I can't go back. I'm not doing that. I don't have that kind of time, and I don't have, my thought process is different now. Because then if I start reading something, I'm gonna want to know origins and wait a minute, why does this happen this way, and who's this person? I need to go back to the beginning. I'm not doing that.
That's
So
fair.
just tell me what I missed up to that point, and then we can go from there. That's
When
just
So, me personally, I have been on a path of self betterment. So, a few weeks ago, I mentioned, went to the library, been reading some stuff, and so I got a self help book last week, and I got one chapter of it, and then I got back in the car and I took it back
mm,
because it was very clear that they're actually trying to sell you like seminars.
mhm.
So like they'll be like, okay, yeah. And what you want to do is XYZ, but you can get more information about this if you go to www and sign up for us. And I'm like, what the heck is happening here? Like,
They got you. They trolled you all through the library.
I mean, hey man, I didn't pay for this book. Like, if I bought it off Amazon, spent that $15, I would have been pissed. But
Yeah,
it's just the time it took to drive up there.
yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah, at least you could have sat and found a different book to troll you.
All right. So before we hop over to the movie, I was curious, Lemitchel, what is your favorite and least favorite comic book movie? Getting back to the topic of, you're a superhero fan and whatnot.
So, I was thinking about this question, and for me, um, and I know some of your diehard comic book and superhero listeners are probably gonna be angry with me. I don't
If
care.
you are angry, please write us at we used to talk pod at gmail.com.
But so my favorite um movie is the first Wonder Woman movie.
Okay.
But the reason why is because so I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. I have been my whole entire life. Cartoon, Linda Carter live action. Like I've always loved Wonder Woman. And Green Lantern and Black Panther.
I mean, they did Green Lantern dirty, but
They
please
did.
continue.
That's not the discussion we're having, and that's a different day. Um, but so that was my favorite, just because if for no other reason, then I waited so long for it. Because
Right.
even when I was a kid, like I used to, honest to God, dream about a live action Super Friends, quote unquote,
Oh, that'd
movie
be, yeah.
and a live action Wonder Woman. Like I had been waiting for those since I was a kid. Um, and so I was happy to see Justice League. Yes, there's some stuff that we know can be done different, better. The second version that came out was much better, like all of that. I get it. But I was just happy that they finally made one before like I died or something. But
Right. I
the
got
Wonder
you.
Woman movie for me was really special just because um, I liked who they picked. I liked
Yeah.
what they did with the first one. I liked the fact that I got to see it in the theater. Like that was what I had dreamed of as a little kid. So for me,
Okay.
not really even getting into the details of the movie, that will probably be my favorite movie. My least favorite is going to be I loathe Deadpool. And this is why I said some of your diehard listeners are probably going to be angry. I loathe Deadpool. Like I've never watched it. I've seen bits and pieces, and actually, most recently, probably 3 weeks ago, I saw it was on some channel I was watching in the hotel, and so I actually purposely made myself watch it just so I can say if I
You've
really
seen
hate
it.
it or not.
Okay.
And after seeing, I didn't watch the whole thing, but after seeing some of it, I mean, hate's a strong word. I still don't like. I still probably I wouldn't run to watch them. I don't like I don't like it. I just think it's gross,
Okay.
and I just think that character is gross, and I just it's just gross to me, and I don't really care for it.
Hey, I mean, we're, I'm just asking the question, what is your favorite and least favorite?
I know,
I'm not gonna browbeat you.
I know, but you needed
Um,
a why. I'm sure you needed. I'm sure you wanted a follow up as to why. I couldn't just give you an answer. I gotta.
I like the first one. Like it was fine. Like it was very clear that they were working with a budget and it was just confined. Like I like that character a lot. Deadpool is what got me back into comics. Like I was really into comics when I was younger, and
Mm,
then I fell off. And then there was this video game called X-Men Legends.
mm.
And it was basically a game where you can pick which X-Men you want, and then you just go on a little mission and, fight the bosses, and you can swap out the members. And Deadpool was an unlockable character. And so I was like, oh man, this character's cool. Let me read some of his comics. And I was, started reading some of his comics, and then I started reading like other comics, and that kind of just propelled me back into comic books. So yeah, so I like Deadpool before he was cool, but it's whatever.
Well, I
But
mean, hey, great for the Deadpool fans. I could take it or leave it.
for me, my least favorite comic book movie would be Spawn.
Mhm.
I remember seeing it in a drive-in a million years ago when I was a young man, too young man, when I was a boy, way too young to actually see that movie, and I hated it. Like it wasn't even this even back then, like the story was just a mess and the CGI was just terrible. Like I was like, why did I even want to stay up to watch this? Like
Mhm.
I could be at home in my bed right now. Like I just never cared for it ever since.
I can see that too. I never got into Spawn. It didn't the character didn't pull me. I don't know anything about Spawn, so
Same here. Same here.
it didn't pull me in. I wasn't interested in seeing the movie. I didn't care. But I think too, to be fair to some of these movies that for me personally I don't like, I think just because of how I fell in love with these superhero slash comic book characters was because of the either the superhero factor or the hero factor, in terms of like G.I. Joe and the Voltron and the Transformers. Yeah. And like I watched all those in terms of cartoons. So any of those in comic book form, like I said, I was not a comic book reader. However, if you put one of those in front of me as a comic book, I would probably read it just because
Yeah.
I identify with the hero part and the superhero part.
Okay. I mean, good point. Good point. So I feel like then you may be on board with me for my favorite comic book movie, and it's Superman the movie. Um, not any of this, not any of the Marvel movies, not even like Batman, like The Dark Knight or anything. Superman the movie. And I'll tell you why. Whenever Circuit City was going out of business, like I bought the movie on Blu-ray. I had never seen it before,
Mhm.
and I watched it, and I was just captivated by it. Like it gave me that feeling of like when you see a movie trailer for like something that's going to be like a summer blockbuster and you're like, damn, that trailer looks so good, like I cannot wait to see it, and your mind is just ablaze of like all the different things that could be happening in that movie. And
Mhm.
so rarely does it like meet those expectations. Like I never even seen a trailer for the movie, but just seeing it just made me feel like this is a summer movie. This is a blockbuster. Like this feels like I watched Superman do some stuff for 2 hours. Like the tagline for the movie is "You will believe a man can fly," and I absolutely did, and I still do. Like I love that movie so much.
I remember that. I remember Circuit City too. So that's um yeah, and so when you talk about that and even just the way you describe that, and that's kind of what I mean by the traditional superhero, because I grew up, I think one of the first um live action superhero movies I saw, of course, especially growing up in the time I did, was Superman.
Right.
And so, of course, because I watched the Super Friends cartoons, love Superman, so I had to see the movie, and I definitely agree with that. Like some of the older Superman movies I probably like a lot more than some of the newer ones.
They really haven't done Superman justice since, in my opinion, Superman 2.
I would not disagree with you
Yeah.
on that. I agree. I would agree with that. Maybe I feel like possibly they just started making these Superman movies to keep up with the Batman movies and to keep up with the Marvel movies and stuff. But I don't feel like lately they actually put time and energy into Superman stories anymore. There was one Superman movie that came out. I can't remember which one it was. I got to look it up. But I actually fell asleep on the movie because it was that boring to me.
Man of Steel.
That's probably the one.
Yeah. I thought that was okay, but then he's like, all right, and I have to snap somebody's neck at the end. I'm like, what? You don't actually have to do that.
I don't even know. I literally in the theater fell asleep, and I don't even know how long I was asleep because I woke up and a whole bunch of stuff had happened, and I was just like, I don't even know what I missed. But then I had to sit there and watch it because I paid for it. So
right,
I can agree with you on that.
I mean, I feel like the biggest problem with Superman movies now is that people making Superman movies don't understand the character of Superman.
I would agree with that as well.
Just like, oh yeah, Superman.
He flies. He is allergic to kryptonite.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's make a movie.
Yeah. And it's like if you just slide over to the other side of Marvel and you take a character like Captain America, and if you remove all of the MCU stuff, your assumptions about Captain America are he is a patriot, as in like he would just do what the government tells him to do, and that's the end of the day. A peacemaker, if you will, to kind of allude to tonight's movie. But like no, like the MCU really flushed out like no, Captain America stands for what America is about, but he will not blindly follow an order, even if it's coming from America itself.
Right. Yeah. And so they put that energy into building that character and to building that background and to giving you that kind of information about him so that you do know. I mean, even to have a conversation like this, the fact that you can pull that out from this character to the point of, these newer Superman movies. You used to be honestly watching, the first Superman movies, back in the day. Even as a kid, you kind of felt like that. Like you kind of felt like Superman stood for justice and the American way, whatever any of that meant at that time. You felt that because you see it in
his
the
actions.
way they made movies, right?
Yeah.
Versus now, it's just kind of like, let's get a Superman movie out, and he's gonna fly and fall in love with Lois Lane, and gonna be shot by kryptonite, and it's gonna be bad. But it's a movie. No.
All right. So all that being said, we got a little bit of a primer here. This week we will discuss the Suicide Squad.
Your mission is to destroy every trace of something known only as Project Starfish. Any questions?
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
If this whole beach was completely covered in dicks, and somebody said I had to eat every dick until the beach was clean for liberty, I would say no problemo.
Why would someone put penises all over the beach?
Who knows why madmen do what they do?
Oh my God, we've got a freaking kaiju up in this shit!
The Suicide Squad is sent on its latest mission to the island of Corto Maltese after a political coup to stop and destroy any evidence of something called Project Starfish. During the mission, there are several casualties from the squad, but eventually the few survivors learn that there is an alien entity named Starro that has been held captive for 30 years on this island with the power to control people. Through some mishaps, Starro gets free and takes over most of the inhabitants of the island, but the squad prevails and stops it. So, Lemitchel, what did you think of this movie?
Off the top, I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it for what it was
Okay.
because initially, like maybe a lot of other people, and I feel confident saying that because I actually read this um, before I even talked to you guys about, being a part of the show. A lot of people thought this was a sequel to the original.
It sort of is. It's a spiritual sequel.
Yeah, but it's not a sequel. So I did see some, not online chatter, but I saw some like people's take on the movie. And after seeing it, I agree. Like basically it's another iteration, I guess, of the Suicide. This is just me giving my own, what I think. Iteration of the Suicide Squad that could be married to the first one, but has nothing to do with the first one. And I guess I just assumed it was going to be an actual direct sequel because my first question was, why the hell does Will Smith always get into these movies where he's really good in this character and then he doesn't do anything else with the next ones coming out? Because I thought he was going to be in the sequel. But having said that, though, I was just looking forward to it because I really liked his character in the first. I liked what he did with the character. So part of me thinking this was going to be a sequel was, why is Will Smith not in it? Having said that, having seen the movie, I liked it. There were some parts of it that I didn't get with the movie.
Okay. Like what?
I guess so much of the cartoony stuff that was integrated in the movie to me was unnecessary. But I'm open enough to believe that there was a point that I missed, and I'm going to have to see it again to like some of this stuff. But I guess my expectation. Again, this was having the first one in my head too, was this was just a straight on action movie. But then you had all this other stuff happening that I'm just like, why is this here? It didn't necessarily take away from the movie for me. It was just kind of a small distraction to me in my head as far as just like getting to the action and telling the story and I don't know.
Have you been like really following the trajectory of these latest DC movies? Like we started with Man of Steel and you fell asleep on that. And then we had Batman v Superman. And both of those were very dark and gritty movies in the same vein of the Dark Knight trilogy. Because that's what Warner Brothers thought that the people wanted. Didn't matter what character, but that's what they thought the people wanted. And then we had Wonder Woman that was like a breath of fresh air. And then we had Justice League, which was hot garbage, right? And so like at that point, like people were fired. A lot of shifts at the company. And then we got Aquaman, right? Which was a little lighter, a little jokier, right? Then we got Shazam, a lot lighter, a lot jokier. Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
It's a fun movie. It's a lot of
I
fun.
wanted to see that.
And then I feel like the next one was Wonder Woman 1987.
I didn't like
86,
that
87. I mean, we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like DC is trying, yes, a little bit of that Marvel flair of like light and jokey, but also like stop taking itself so fucking seriously. And so that's kind of, if you go from the first Suicide Squad to this one, like it does feel like a big tonal shift. But if you look at overall what they're trying to do with these movies, it makes sense.
And I see that because I agree. Like I don't need because in the beginning, I know people make this whole, DC versus Marvel. I wasn't one versus the other. Except for more of the DC characters I liked more because those are the ones I knew more, right?
Okay.
Of course, over the years now with these movies being made, of course, I've seen more Marvel movies, obviously, because more have been made. And I like more Marvel movies, obviously, because more have been made. So when the DC movies started to come out and they were darker, I personally did not like them. I don't like the dark ones. It's just, first of all, it's dark literally. No, seriously, I think about these movies that the DC movies that are out, like, visually, literally, they're dark. There was sometimes that, stuff was happening in the movie and I couldn't see because you got these characters dressed in dark costumes in this, in these dark rooms and dark backgrounds and non-existent light, and they're fighting or they're doing whatever. And I couldn't see that crap. So to me, it was just like watching shadows. So I'm happy with the lighter part. What I mean by the Suicide Squad that's out now is, almost psychedelic type background stuff going on that to me.
The specific scene you're talking about, like, you got to also think about the character that it happened with. So like there's a fight with Harley where she's like killing a whole bunch of dudes, and like instead of like blood splattering everywhere, like you're looking at that fight scene from her perspective. So like she's not well. And so she's like, oh yeah, look at all the pretty flowers floating out of these people. Because this is her worldview. This is how she can, go around killing so many people, because it's not as violent as it would appear to anybody else.
And see, this is why I said that I'm open-minded enough to believe that there was a reason behind it, because watching it, and again, keeping in mind that I still had in my head a slight comparison with the previous one. To me, I didn't see the point as I was watching it. Like, it didn't fit. But again, I'm also like, I absolutely loved the first Suicide Squad. Like, I loved everything about it. Okay. The characters, the action, the stories, like, to me, everything fit. So I thought that was done really well in terms of, the production and everything. So with this one, I liked it, but with some of the stuff that was going on, I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand the reason for it.
Okay.
So, but that's why for me, with most movies, I'm always open-minded enough to know that there's stuff that I'm not getting that somebody else could probably explain. So hearing you say that, like, when I watch it again, because I will watch it again, I will consider that, and then it might make more sense. Like, that being in place will probably make more sense to me in my head as I'm watching it. Because as I was watching it this time, I was just like, okay, fun fact about me, I love fight scenes, especially any woman that's kicking butt. I've always loved that. Like, any woman that kicks anybody's butt, I'm here for it in the movies. So, and I love Harley Quinn. Like, I love that character just off the top. Like, she might become easily like my second favorite female comic book character. I just like her. But I also like that actress. So that's probably why. So her story, to me, like, I'm always interested in whatever her story is anyway. With what was happening with her, like, I got it. She was fighting. She was, the reason why she was fighting her way out of what she was fighting and going through everything she was going through. To me, that was enough, just for me, without the other stuff. But that's why I said earlier, I'm open-minded enough to believe that there was a reason behind it. So I like what you explained, what you said, and I will take that into consideration when I watch it again to see if I get a different point of view for what I saw.
Also, I personally feel like they probably had to do that because, like, yes, we're in America, and like you can get away with a lot of blood. But at the rate of violence in that movie, I feel like they were skirting an NC-17. And so they probably did have to tone it down in some parts. That's my personal theory.
That's not illogical. That is not illogical. I will accept that too. I will definitely accept that as well.
But I also forgot we got Birds of Prey last year also, which was pretty jokey. It was dark, but not as dark as the previous films.
And I didn't see that, and I meant to, but I never got around to seeing that. I wanted to see that.
It's good. It's the second movie of these DC movies that was directed by a woman. And there are some parts where you can tell a woman directed it because it's not exploitative of a highly sexual nature. And like, it's a scene in particular where like the main antagonist, he like flips out and he makes this woman strip down. But like that's not the focus of the scene. The scene isn't like, oh man, she's getting naked. The point of the scene is like, this man is insane. I feel like that tastefulness really showcased like, okay, this is a woman directing this scene.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't see Birds of Prey, and it was one of the ones that I wanted to see, and I don't know why I never got around to seeing it. But
Because it came, well, marketing was part of the problem, because like they made it seem like that movie was coming out on Valentine's, but it came out like a week before, and then like it did okay in the box office, and then the pandemic hit. So timing was terrible for that movie.
I don't like, I go to the movies a lot by myself to see just almost anything.
Mhm.
And that I think it was on my list to see at the theater, and I never got around to it. And
That's good.
Yeah.
Like with this movie, with the story of it, like I'm not even gonna BS. This is the best movie of 2021 for me. Like I can't remember laughing this hard in a movie. The story just, for me, just clicked on every angle. Like, go to this island. There's destabilization with the government. We want you to kidnap this person. We need you to stop some shit that they're doing. That's the mission. Nothing crazy, right? And like every point, like the moment they touch down on the beach, shit gets more and more fucked up. And like that's a Suicide Squad mission. Like you don't have all the information. Like it just seems like simple shit. And like things just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Like I loved it. I didn't know Idris Elba was that funny. He could be that funny. Like the interactions with him in the leaf, where he was like, why the fuck would I want to leave? Like, why the fuck would he want to leave? Like,
yeah, he's pretty funny. I liked him in this movie though, and his humor. I thought that was cool. And I liked him and John Cena's antagonist.
Yes, I fucking love that. Especially that scene when they're killing all the rebels, but they don't realize that they're rebels and they're just showing off. And it's like,
yeah, that was I think my favorite part between those two was when Waller was introducing, the group to, Idris Elba's character, while he was cleaning up. And she was listing off all this stuff that he does, right? And when she was introducing him to John Cena's character, and he listed the same thing. And I said out loud, that's the same shit you said about me. That's what I said out loud in the theater. And then he looked and he said to her, are you joking? Like, that's the same shit I do. And I was like, yes, okay. So this was like on purpose, like they did, because I was listening to it like, did I wait?
Right, like the movie is like super self-aware. Or like at the very beginning when they're on the plane and the guy's like, so your name's TDK, what's that stand for? And it's like, it's just letters. And he's like, but what do the letters stand for? And then Captain Boomerang's like, all names are letters, dickhead.
Yeah.
Like,
and I remember actively reacting to that too, like, he's right. Like, because I kind of said the same thing. Like, what does TDK stand for? Like, I'm thinking the same thing. And when he said all names have letters, he was like, you know what? He's right. Like, that's the most logical thing I've heard.
And like, he's a weasel. He's harmless. I mean, he killed like 27 kids, but he's harmless.
But he's
like,
harmless. I think, and that's what this is what I was getting to. So I actually like Pete Davidson just in general.
Okay.
Like,
So there's something wrong with you. I hear you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not like this super fan. I don't just do everything. But so when I saw his name in the credits, like I was like, oh, cool. Like, Pete Davidson gets to be like this, in this movie, like it's gonna be good. And then he was only in the movie for like 2 damn seconds. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell did they even put him on the credits for? Like, in like not the end credits, like his name is in lights. I kind of felt cheated with Pete. I felt like Pete Davidson deserved a little bit more. Just in general.
And another thing that I didn't really care for in the last live action one was like they killed one person. Like, this is the Suicide Squad. Not everybody is coming back home. And like,
so I had to come to that conclusion with this movie.
Oh boy, did you?
And I think you're right, because when you talk about the first one when they kill one person, because as they were killing off these characters again, i.e. like the Pete Davidson character, I was just like, what was the point? Like, you're killing off these. But then I literally said to myself, okay, well, they are called the Suicide Squad. I
Right.
don't think everybody's supposed to come. I will say though, you said something earlier about like with the first movie and this being a Suicide Squad, and and they're having superheroes in it and everything. I'm almost wondering. Well, I'm wondering if with the first one, if the idea behind, when they were making the movie, is to actually set it up to make one of them a superhero type character, not necessarily a superhero.
I mean, yeah. Did you not see any scene with Will Smith?
No, that's what I mean. And that's why I say that, because when you said that, it made me kind of think back to, I wonder if like one of the differences, and when I say I wonder, I mean just in my own head, like for myself, if the setup for that whole movie was to almost build it in a way that one or more can break out into their own type situation.
I mean,
whereas I think
yes.
this movie, even though yes, Idris Elba was kind of the focus character in terms of the leader, if you will, but you had a number of standout characters, and then of course you had some who didn't make it to the end, or did they? Question mark.
I mean, you do know John Cena's getting his own show, right? On that character. Yeah.
No, I know. They said there was a lot about this movie. Like I said, I like the movie. That's what I led with. I definitely did not hate the movie. I will definitely be seeing it again. But just my biggest just critique for the movie was initially, and then having your perspective now, could have changed it. But just initially, there were just parts about it that to me, I'm like, why? Like, what was the point?
Right.
But again, I can watch it again and kind of go back and add this conversation and see how I feel about it afterwards. But I mean, just in general, overall, I like the movie. And if anybody is questioning about watching it, even if you just want something to just freaking watch for nothing else to do and be entertained, this is a good one.
No, I 100% agree. Don't watch this on HBO Max. Actually go to the theater. Support this movie. I watched it at home and it's like, shit, I should have really gone to the theater, because this is a funny movie. We need to support this movie with our money so that they know these are the kind of DC movies we want. Also, like the listeners know, I am a sucker for a father-daughter storyline. They threw two of them at us, and I was like, stop hitting me with that stuff. Ratcatcher 2, yes, my daughter's 1, but like I saw my daughter as her. I connected when at the end, near the end, when Starro shot out those baby Starros to suck, take over people. I was like, baby girl, put on your mask. Like, baby girl, put on your mask.
Yep. She was one of the ones that, because she was the first one that put it on, right? She yelled at everybody else. Yeah, I remember, right?
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny because that you said that. I actually was happy that she put on it. Like, I was so happy that she was the one that called, because initially, in talking about stuff I didn't understand, like it took me a second to understand her character. Like, okay, who is she? What is she doing? And then I had the same reaction that some of the other characters in the movie had. Like, why rats? Like, I mean, okay, like why rats? But I like that they explained that. Yeah. Explained it good enough that it actually, I use this word a lot, but was logical, as logical can be for a comic book superhero movie, right? But it actually was a reason that it tied to her father, and the reason that she gave, as disgusting as it might be to somebody who hates rats.
You and Idris Elba's character.
Yeah, but it made sense. Yeah. I mean, it made sense for that character's backstory. So
also, like that surprise cameo by Taika Waititi, like just came out of fucking nowhere. I was like, you playing the father? Like, stop trying to make me cry. Stop.
They did this for you. This was
they knew. They knew, like,
pull at your heartstrings and make you see it again in the theater.
God damn it.
And buy it. So you can watch it with your daughter when she's 5 and 6.
All right, baby, we're gonna watch this violent movie. All right,
watch this violent movie, and we're gonna bond. This is what fathers and daughters do. Suicide Squad.
So I want to throw two more things out there. I absolutely love that the way the scene was shot when Rick Flag and Peacemaker were fighting, but you only saw the fight through the reflection of Peacemaker's mask, his helmet. Like, I thought that was so cool.
You know what I like about that is I didn't even notice that. I mean, let me quantify that. Like, I noticed it, that it was through the helmet, there are times where something like that would have happened and I would have been upset. Like, okay, can we get off the helmet? Can we get
Right.
But I think because it was done so well and you can actually see the action in the helmet,
Yes.
that it wasn't
It wasn't a distraction.
a distraction to me. The helmet was not a distraction, and the fight scene in the helmet was not a distraction. Like you could actually make out what was happening. So I actually, now that you bring that up, I can tell that that was something that, it flowed with the movie to me, and it made sense. So
Yeah.
I don't remember questioning that at all.
Right.
And I actually noticed that it was in the helmet, and I was like, huh. And I didn't, say to myself, geez, enough with the helmet. Like I don't remember saying that. So
Yeah.
I like that.
I just appreciate DC is at a point where they're like, okay, we can't be Marvel. So we are truly going to let people come here and do what they want to do.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that, stuff happened with James Gunn and he got the call. And he's like, okay, I'll come over. Y'all let me do whatever the fuck I want to do. And he just had like so much freedom to like just do what he wanted to do. Like with with Polka Dot Man, and like before you actually saw him release any polka dots, and like his face was like so puffy with all those polka dots. And it's like, if you've seen any of James Gunn's earlier stuff, like he loves body horror, but you can't really see that stuff with the squeaky clean Disney shit he's had to do. And so like, just you get a director that they can just do what they want to do. Like it is, obviously within reason. It was just so refreshing that that's why I like this movie so much. It's like, it's funny, it's fun, it's got some dark parts, it's got some parts that's going to tug at your heartstrings. They just got to do what they wanted to do, and like there was not as much interference as you're going to have over at Disney.
I do like that, a number of the same characters were in the movie, because I think whether people believe it's a sequel or not, because that is some online chatter, if you happen to just go online and check, people believe it's a sequel or not, it still provides a level of continuity in terms of the universe, in terms of the Suicide Squad universe.
Like for my own personal headcanon, I am taking this as a sequel because, at the very beginning, you had that quick, very quick exchange between Harley and Boomerang, acknowledging that they know each other, acknowledging like, hey, maybe we've done something like this before, maybe not. And they just kept it moving. So in my head canon, yes, like this is a sequel.
I mean, to me, it was a sequel. But again, the only reason why I brought that up is because I did see that was a question with, fans of the movie or the universe or whatnot. So I like that a number of the characters, were in both movies, because again, just even watching it, it still provides some semblance of continuity and some semblance of, well, there is a connection, whatever it may be, whether it's just this different, scenario and time, and or whether this is the next step to, or the next job, and some of the other characters are either doing something else or didn't make it, or whatever the situation is. But I just appreciate that. And I also, first of all, I appreciate how, the staff kind of took over toward the end too.
I like how callous they were throughout the entire movie, where like at the beginning, they're like taking bets.
Okay, that was funny to me. That was the funniest thing. I like that, because I like that they did that. Especially then when she came and said, "What are you doing?" I was just, no, nothing. We're just good meeting, guys. It was like, it was a great meeting. Yeah, that was funny.
We're gonna transition to short trivia this week. So, Lemitchel, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes is on The Suicide Squad?
It's 98%.
92.
Really?
Yes.
I feel good about that. I feel good about my answer then.
The audience score is 86, but yeah, the tomato meter is at 92.
Okay.
All right. So I got 2 bits of trivia, and then we're gonna roll on out of here. The first one is Idris Elba was initially hired to replace Will Smith as Deadshot, but it was later decided that Elba would play a new character to allow Smith to return in the future. And the last piece of information I have is James Gunn wanted Dave Bautista to play Peacemaker, but Bautista turned it down to play the lead role in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. And from what I understand, coming from Dave Bautista's mouth itself, that he was paid a lot more to star in Army of the Dead than be Peacemaker.
I mean, that makes sense. I can see that.
But I mean, it would have, maybe he would have got it on somewhat later if, you know, he would also got the option to do the TV show. But who knows?
So if I could just comment real quick before we leave on the first one that you listed about Idris Elba initially being hired to replace Will Smith. Do you know, I actually felt that watching the movie.
With the daughter subplot.
Well, no, just the Idris Elba character in general in the very beginning, because I knew he was in the movie, but I wasn't really paying attention until I actually saw him on the screen. And I felt like at first that he was supposed to be a replacement for Will Smith, but then as the movie went on, I got the sense that he wasn't necessarily replacing Will Smith, but just exactly almost what you said, that at some point Will Smith would be like, I didn't read any of that, but just watching that movie, I think they did a good job of even making you feel like this is somebody who could work with Will Smith character in the future. Right.
I got the impression with Idris Elba's character that was Deadshot, and all they did was just change the name from Deadshot to Bloodsport, because it's the same thing that Will Smith had. Like, he had a daughter, and you know, she was going to be on her own, and she got into some trouble, and Will Smith would have had to do the mission to, you know, and he was charming and a little bit cocky like Will Smith. Like, I could see everything, every single action Idris Elba took could have been played by Will Smith's character.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Yeah. So Lemitchel, do you have anything to plug before we get out of here?
Man, I have nothing to plug other than to plug. We used to talk about this at work.
You're a good guest.
Seriously, I mean, you know, I'm not working on anything at the moment, but I'm not gonna lie. I've said it before. I like what you guys are doing. I'm happy to be a part of it. And now that, you know, having done this without Matt, I definitely hope I get to come back in the future so that I can do this with the both of you. Because
I'll make sure to not be on that episode.
Well, that's rude. So now that'll just give me a chance to come on a third one.
There you go.
I can do one with him, and then I can do one with both of you. I miss you guys. I miss
same
talking to both of you.
BS.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another reason why I was looking forward to doing this. So nope, not plugging anything, but we should talk about this at work. So I'll be sure to let our coworker know that you and I got to talk. So you might want to take a listen, lady.
Yeah, might want to pop on herself in a future episode. Who knows?
Right. See if we can get on there.
Thank you so much for listening. Please rate, like, and review our podcast on your platform of choice. If you have any feedback, please email us at weusedtotalkpod@gmail.com. Like our Facebook page, We Used to Talk About This at Work, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at We Used to Talk Pod. Lemitchel, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Even if this episode tanks in the ratings, I promise you will be back.
Well, I hope it doesn't take in the ratings, but I will definitely take the opportunity to come back. Man, this is thanks for having me. Seriously, This is great. I had a good time. Really enjoyed talking to you. Miss you guys, and get better, Matt.
Keeping the ball rolling on, giving you guys an idea what's happening. Next week, we're going to be talking to someone else we used to work with, and we're going to review Jungle Cruise. See you next week.